What's up guys, my name's Grant Borland, and today I kind of want to make a video about horror music and horror sounds. This year, 2021, has been full of trailer work for me that's been in the horror genre. I've done a lot of customs, solo albums, collaborative albums, and compilation albums, as well as sound effect toolkits for industry use, and then SAMPLEPACKS as well. It's just been very horror music oriented. I kind of wanted to make a quick little video about maybe my top 5 or 6 favorite tools for horror music at the moment. I know a few years back I was starting to get into some horror music and I had a hard time finding tools I liked. I think since then there's been a lot of good sample libraries and sample packs that have came out that really cover this genre very well. I kind of want to take a look at some of my favorite ones. So let's not waste any time. I want to get right into it. Let's open up Logic and take a look at some of these sounds I like. The first one we have is a sample library by a company called Silence Plus Other Sounds, and the library is called String Ache. It's like a horror sound design library based around string sounds. Lots of cool string textures, really creepy stuff. I think right now there's a trend in horror trailer music where there's a lot of creepy solo string instruments, a lot of textures like that, plucks, things like that. You think about trailers for Midsummer or Gretel and Hansel. Really anything within the past year or two, you'll hear a lot of cool string textures. So that seems to be a really popular thing right now. And String Ache covers a lot of those cool sounds for this. So I'm just going to play through one of the patches. I'm going to play a couple sounds so you can see the tone of it and the different sounds that come within it. So this is the cinematic string sound effects patch in it. There's a nice GUI for it with a lot of ways to control the sounds, but I just kind of want to give you an overview on some of these sounds that come right out of the box. I'm holding down a few different notes, so it's blending a lot of the different samples to kind of get unique results. The thing I like about this sample library is it also comes with folder of the wave files, so a lot of times I'll dig into the specific bits of source audio and samples, and I can chop those up and maybe mangle them a little bit further than I can do in the Contact graphic user interface. So I find it useful for that kind of thing too, but you do have the flexibility of it being a Contact library, or you can have the wave samples too, which is really nice and useful for me. I think with horror music, so much of it, or the reason it interests me so much, is because it's very creative from a sound design perspective, and so having the ability to dig into those wave files, and maybe you like a tail at the end of it, you want to chop that up and throw plugins to get something totally unique and unheard of. I think those types of things bode really well for horror music. So that's what interests me, and those are the types of things I look for when I am thinking about purchasing a library that's kind of geared towards this genre of music. Let's load up another patch real quick so you can kind of hear something else. I think those types of sounds right there would be perfect to use as risers, or maybe layer it under a traditional trailer riser, just to give it something a little bit more unique and honestly downright just terrifying. Some of these reverses are cool too. Use that almost like a whoosh or something right before something scary. It can drop out to silence, and then maybe you come into a jump scare or something. Those types of sounds are something to keep in mind for that sort of thing. So there you go. There's a quick little overview of String Ache. I'm just going to do a quick little overview of all these. Keep it kind of short, concise. If you're looking for new horror sounds, this is the video for you, that sort of thing. So moving on, let's open up one from Fallout Music Group. This library is called Unstrung, and it's also a dedicated string library. But I like this one a lot because it's really good for like plucky string stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, trailers like Midsummer, Gretel and Hansel, like those types of trailers have all these like really eerie violin and cello plucks, those types of things. I think this library is really geared towards that kind of thing, that trend we're seeing in horror music right now, at least for trailers anyways. And so I think it's really good. I've got the Unstrung Patterns patch loaded up right now. If I just hold a note, you can kind of hear what it's doing. So there's a sequencer built in, right? And it's going through all these different steps. So there's 16 steps. You can go through and you can, you have a wide variety of different sounds. So you can make your own patterns and sequences, from violins to banjo sounds to, cello knocks, plucked sounds, ricochets, dives. This list is so expansive. They have so many samples built into this thing that it's really, really nice and versatile, and the price is really good on it too. I really like the guys over there at Fallout Music Group, so I definitely recommend checking out their stuff, but especially Unstrung. So I was playing a note through the sequencer, but then you can also play individual notes too. So if you want to make your own rhythms and stuff, or you kind of want to, you're more of play your own rhythms in, as opposed to using the sequencer, you can just that sort of thing. There's other patches in here. If we load up the hits, these are hits and impacts built from the strings themselves. Same thing, you can choose between all these different sounds to kind of randomize and make your own stuff. There's the options to shuffle that too if you want random results. That could be a hook in a trailer. Really sparse, really minimal, but there's this eerie sound, and that could hook a listener. So those are the hits, and then the final one is the risers. So again, really useful for layering under risers if you want something more string related. There you have it. Moving on to the next one. The next one is from a company called Sampletraxx, and Sampletraxx is known for like really insane sound design. I think that they have some of the most unique stuff on the market. Like, I have a ton of their samples, and I use them all the time in my stuff. But I want to kind of highlight their Raw Cello FX library slash sample pack, if you will. This is another one where you can kind of dive into the wave samples, or you have the option to use the contact instrument as well. This, I typically use the wave files, but I do, for the video's purpose, I do want to show the contact instrument as well. So I have the crescendo patch loaded up right now. Cool. Let's do another patch. Design to bow. Disgusting in a good way. Do one more patch, just the FX. That one's almost like a Brahms. So that's Raw Cello FX. Cool user interface. You got a lot of options, reverbs, delays, the envelope, as well as some filter options too. So definitely recommend checking out for horror stuff as well. Moving on, the next one we have is by a company called Mammoth Audio. From my understanding, it's not really marketed as a horror library, so to speak. I think it's a little more versatile than that because you have some like traditional trailer sound effects, you know, like stutters, hits, drones, you know, a bunch of things that aren't necessarily horror, but there are tools in here that are really good for horror and suspense stuff. Recently I've landed a placement for a trailer for Netflix, and I used the cello sounds from this, and it added a really nice bit of suspense and like drama for this piece, but I use it a lot for horror stuff as well. Right out of the gate, I have this throat singing patch loaded up from the playable instruments. There's all these different articulations, if you will, which sound really nice, but I'm just going to show you really quick what the throat singing sounds like. It's kind of unusual, isn't it? Like, I don't think I have any other libraries that kind of do this sort of thing, but what I like to do with it is I like throwing like big reverbs underneath it and almost make it like a vocal drone, something very creepy, very unusual. It's not just a, you know, a synth pad. There's actually like a vocal there that's kind of been mangled into this drone texture, which is really useful for horror stuff too, at least my personal style. I use this a lot. I've used this on customs that have landed as well. So density is definitely a tool that I recommend. It's a very, very good samples. The guys over there at Mammoth Audio know what they're doing when it comes to this kind of thing. Let me show you the cello, because that's one of my favorite things in here too. This is like a solo cello, obviously, and I feel like it's really good for stabs and adding like tension behind stuff. Like, I don't think this is like a cello library where you're gonna have like nice legatos and it's gonna sound beautiful. This is like definitely aimed at sounding a little bit grittier, a little bit nastier, perfect for trailers and suspense horror stuff. Really quick, let me go to the one-shot samples. If you see, you got booms, broms, downers, drones, hits, reverse effects, risers, stutters, and transitions. So those are kind of more of your traditional trailer sounds. They sound awesome as well. Getting carried away. I mean, you just play a few notes and like ideas already start coming to mind. So that's density. Let's move on to sample packs rather than sample libraries. So these ones I want to get into next are going to be just like sound packs with like wave files. So the first one I want to show you is another Sampletraxx library called Rituals. And Rituals is great. I think this is like perfect for horror. If you're getting into it and you want some fresh sounds, Rituals has got you covered. Let's just start with the tortured strings. We'll just random patch. See what I mean? I feel like they just do sound design differently. See, I think a lot of these libraries I've shown you have been like sound design based around string instruments, The reason I wanted to like highlight this specific pack is because there's a lot of synth stuff too. I think synth sound design bodes really well in horror music as well, because you can have this like organic string sounds that are creepy, but you can also have this like looming, like deep, disturbing synth sound design underneath that too. And so that electronic mixed with that organic, really cool for horror stuff. Rituals by Sampletraxx. Great library. To end this video off, I wanted to show you one that my company ASTS put out last year called HELLSCRAPE. And HELLSCRAPE's really useful too. I thought I'd mention that, you know, that's something that me and my business partner put together. It's really, really cool too. There's an expansion for it as well, but you know, you have alarms and sirens, you have drones, you have blasts, and you have impacts. And James Brown, he's the other half of ASTS. He's a phenomenal sound designer, and I think he does really, really well with horror stuff. I feel like that's like my favorite stuff that he puts out. So when he had the idea to put a sample pack together that was horror related, I was all on board with that. I thought that was the coolest thing. I knew he would deliver an amazing product, and he did. And to this day, it seems to be our best seller over there. So I'm just going to show you a couple sounds from that. And you can see it's pretty unique too. I think it sticks out from a lot of competitors' sound design too. So let's just get right into it. Truly wild stuff. I feel like take that sample, throw it in your DAW, and chop it up. Like, take cool bits from that sound itself, because there's so much in that particular sample itself that like there's just so many possibilities there for you. So that's HELLSCRAPE, and that kind of concludes it, man. I feel like these are 6 libraries I'm using frequently in my music and my horror stuff, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought, you know, it might be interesting to kind of showcase some stuff. I mean, Halloween's right around the corner, and there's lots of horror movies coming out. Yeah, these might be some new fresh sounds for you if you're struggling to find something new. You know, the reason I made this video in the first place was there was a comment on a previous video I had about string textures, and someone mentioned that some of those string textures would be great for horror music. And after a short little back and forth with them, I kind of came up with this idea that it might be cool to showcase specific tools I would use for horror specifically. I mean, you can use those string textures too, there's great stuff in there, but I think that these are really cool dedicated sounds for the genre too. So I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.